Yes, major history, and I would like to give my take on the recent events in Washington at the annual, semi-annual uh, correspondence ball down in D.C. And of course, you are aware that the that grand gala, the proceedings were unceremoniously interrupted by the actions of a would-be or potential assassin. And this potential assassin, who apparently did not prepare himself well for the event, was soon captured and arrested upon his rather daring entrance or crashing of the events. None of the attendees were injured, including the president, his cabinet staff, and various other invited VIPs. Now, this is a very curious event. Actually, this may have been a third assassination attempt upon President Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump. And the events reminds me of a story or several stories by Edgar Allan. I myself am a student of Poe and have studied much of his work down through the years. And these events in Washington, D.C. is eerily reminiscent of the stories, several of the stories that he wrote. Two come to mind: the Mask of the Red Death and the Hop Frog. The first story, which is set in a Gothic background, Gothic environment, where the celebrators attending a ball or a mass and expected to attend a grand and celebratory event. There, the proceedings are interrupted and come to a calamitous ending by the intrusion of a mysterious guest, bring forth a very disastrous disease, which caused a calamitous and very disastrous outcome for the attendees. And this is a theme in several a poem of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, where the rich, the money, the upper class, royalty, were not allowed to enjoy their grand festivities. These festivities was overthrown by unforeseen and unexpected events. That same scenario plays out in a short story called The Hop Frog, where the court jester engineers a nefarious plot to bring a calamitous end to the king and his court, the royal entourage, for unforgiven slights that he experienced. So what I'm saying is that events in DC reminds me of several of Poe's stories. Similarities being a grand get-together, a grand celebration of the rich, the entitled, the famous, the upper classes, and the celebratory atmosphere is unduly interrupted by the intrusion of unwanted, uh, anarchic person. Whereas in Poe's stories, the offender uh, apparently gets away with his deed. Where in this situation, the offender is arrested and charged. And at the conclusion of that event in D.C., Donald J. Trump said the whole situation could have been avoided if the event had been held at this grand ballroom that he proposes to build for upwards of $250 million. And that's the same type of environment that Poe describes in his short stories, a grand ballroom where the celebrants are disturbed, upset, and sent scurrying through the events, unforeseen events, which ultimately bring forth tragedy. So Edgar Allan Poe, who I believe was a very observant, if not a very visionary individual, outlined the events in his stories similar to what has happened in D.C. And his novels, his short stories are well worth reading and studying because they have very, how shall I say, very telling, very far-seeing outlook as the current situation in Washington, D.C. has shown. So that's my take on it, and thank you for listening. Thank you.